Thanks to patch data mining, a Season 3 of DLC for Dragon Ball Fighterz is looking very likely to happen. Now, while we don't know exactly which characters are coming, I've decided to start looking at some of the most popular fan requests and analyze their moves in the show to see what they could look like in the game. And this might be the wildest character prediction I have ever done, because I'm giving Omega Shenron a brand new gimmick, and it's not brand new for Dragon Ball Fighterz, it is brand new in all fighting game history, and yet I made sure to keep it reasonable and not completely insane and broken. But let's start soft. Let's start with what his intro could look like. Shenron walks in from the horizon, warming up his shoulder. The camera zooms in at his face, and then he just laughs at his opponent, because no matter who's in front of him, they are nothing in his eyes. That would be his intro. Then for his victory screen, there's this moment where he starts spreading his evil aura across the planet, and then strikes a cool pose with a completely destroyed background and a blackened out sky. He's destroyed his enemies, and now he's free to accomplish his goal of destroying planet Earth. Also, him and GT Goku should totally have a dramatic finish, but enough of the cinematics. Let's jump into his moves. Let's talk about some of his normals. And with so much runtime in Dragon Ball GT, we're gonna go deep. We're actually going to give each one of his normals a unique move, so strap in, folks. There's a lot to cover. First up, 5L, standing light attack, is just a normal punch. He throws a lot of these, should be a mid, he hits it while standing up, nothing more than a standard punch. Hit the light attack again, and we have a forward advancing knee attack, and it has decent movement forward and easy to confirm into. And then for the final hit of the auto combo, we have a face grab followed up by a punch. Shenron likes to grab his opponent's faces a lot. It's sort of a power move, and in the show he has punched the opponent after grabbing them or just thrown them back. Either version could make it into the game, but I'm gonna go with a punch. So his full light auto combo could look something like this. Shenron is not the type of character that crouches a lot. He's not very nimble, so I doubt his 2L will be a low. In fact, I'm not entirely sure on what they're gonna do for both his down light and down medium, because Shenron just never attacks the feet. So this is probably the one move that I'll just leave blank, because I think something will have to be invented for this one. For his down medium though, I can easily see this kick being modified to be a low attack. Rather than attacking the gut and outright killing Mr. Satan, poor Mr. Satan, Shenron could go for the feet and have a very decent 2M, given how much his body stretches here. For his 5M, I'm thinking of this elbow move. He only does it once, but I think Shenron could use some elbows in his moveset, and it's maybe because of his presence in other games. I just think he uses his elbows a lot, so we're definitely missing some elbows, and 5M would be the perfect place for it. And then for his standing heavy attack, I think this dash punch is a very good candidate. It's a forward advancing attack, and it was one of the coolest moments in Shenron's existence. He just dashes up and punches both Super Saiyan 4s. This has to be in his moveset. And lastly, on the ground, his down heavy is looking pretty good. He's got this uppercut he does a couple of times, and looking at its animation, there's a good chance of it being a decent 2H. Now let's move on to the air. Shenron has a lot of punching moves, and he hits Goku in the gut quite a few times. This would be an easy move to pull for his jumping light attack. Then for his jumping medium attack, I'm actually not too sure about this one, but Shenron does this spinning kick thing a lot. In a way, I think this has to be in this moveset just because he does it all the time. But the thing is, he spins for a while, and that's just not a very good fit for any move in Dragon Ball Fighterz. Unless it's a special attack, but I don't think this is that good. So maybe having this spinning kick cut short is the perfect way of implementing it in the game and not have it break his moveset completely. And then his jumping heavy attack is the usual double X handle. If you've had a launcher in your combo, this will cause a sliding knockdown. If not, it makes it easy to time your assists and extend combos. And then I think he also would have a jumping down heavy, and I'm thinking it could be a dive kick. It's another move that he does a few times in the show, and it's always nice to guarantee the knockdown, even after a vanish or something of the sort. But ultimately, with this moveset, this means that Shenron will not have a normal aerial launcher. If you start an aerial combo, you cannot do the jumping to H and follow up with a super dash. But then again, he wouldn't be the first character to behave like this, though usually when that happens, that's something that can be complemented with his special moves. There are some exceptions, but I will be keeping this in mind when going through his specials. As far as ki blasts go, he typically shoots them with his finger. He does throw some traditional ki blasts on a couple of episodes, but for most of the time, he simply uses his finger, a bit like Cooler does it currently in game, so I don't believe his ki blast game will be very strong. It will most likely just be a single ki blast shot from the finger, both on the ground and in the air. And before we move on to his special attacks, which have the gimmick I've been talking about, just a quick note on his reflect. I think it will just be a normal reflect, nothing fancy like Videl. Now let's get into his specials and the long-awaited gimmick. Dragon Ball Fighterz has this unique mechanic where players can gather Dragon Balls as they fight. If you do an auto combo, you'll get a random Dragon Ball. If you do a manual combo, you will get a specific Dragon Ball based on the number of hits in your combo. So if you perform a 43 hit combo, for instance, you'll get the 4-star Dragon Ball. If you perform a combo in the 50s, you get the 5-star Dragon Ball, etc, etc. Shenron would use this universal universal mechanic and flip it on its head. You see, Shenron starts as simply the 1-star Shadow Dragon called Sin Shenron. It's only when he absorbs all 7 Shadow Dragon Balls that he becomes Omega Shenron. And I think that should be exactly your game plan when playing with this character. When fighting against a Shenron team, the Dragon Balls go dark. You cannot summon the regular dragon. Instead, every time a Dragon Ball is summoned, it is absorbed by Sin Shenron, giving him a new ability. So he's going to start with a single special attack, which is the one from the 1-star Dragon Ball, the one he already carries, and then, depending on the Dragon Ball he absorbs, he's gonna gain another one. First up, he starts with a controlled Kamehameha. He shoots this at Goku and it's a beam that can be controlled. I'm imagining it would have similar controls to Krillin's Ki Blasts, but instead of low priority blasts, we're talking about a beam. This seems very powerful, but tweak the startup frames or the recovery and you can find a good balance. Also, you can only do this move while on the ground with quarter-circle forward and the special button, because we're gonna need a different ability in the air. We're talking about 7 different special attacks, so these moves will have a few restrictions. Sin Shenron will always have this move available from the start of the fight. The rest of the moves on this list require a specific Dragon Ball to have been absorbed. So if you do an auto combo, you will get a random ability. If you do a specific combo, you will get a specific ability. And I think this adds depth to the character. Makes him a bit gimmicky, but come on. He's a tall dude with no low light attack. He will never be a top tier anyway, so let's just make a fun character. When he absorbs the 2-star Dragon Ball, he gains the ability from Haze Shenron. Now, Haze Shenron sucks, so Sin Shenron never actually used his abilities, but the most significant thing that Haze did on his own was poison this huge lake. So the ability I have in mind is actually something brand new for fighters. With quarter circle back and a special button, he would spit some poison water, which would remain on the ground for a short time. If the opponent is standing on the puddle, they are taking damage, and this damage cannot be blocked. It would work similar to Mortal Kombat 11, where Aaron Black can throw acid on the ground. So if you're standing there, you're taking damage. Now, Fighters and Mortal Kombat are obviously very different games, and in Fighters, you can keep an opponent blocking for a very long time. So in order to not make this ability completely broken, let's say that this ability cannot kill, so it only deals chip damage. And there's also a huge recovery or something, so it's not easy to keep spitting in a block string and just keep you taking chip damage forever. Next, when Sin Shenron absorbs the 3-star Dragon Ball, he gains the power of Ice Shenron. He actually shoots this ice ray when he gets this power, and this would freeze the opponent, allowing him to get close and either combo or go for a reset. And it kind of behaves like a beam, but this would only be doable in the air, simply because I have all the commands mapped out, and for us to have 7 special attacks, some are going to be ground only and others are going to be air only. This would be his jumping quarter circle forward special, so it would be a beam angled downwards just to try to keep it beginner friendly, as Fighters usually does. When Sin Shenron absorbs the 4-star Dragon Ball, he gains the power of Nova Shenron. Omega Shenron also uses this power in Dragon Ball GT. It turns his whole body into magma, effectively hurting Goku when he had just attacked him. This, ladies and gentlemen, is nothing more, nothing less than a DP or a parry. You gain armor, and if the opponent attacks you, they will get hurt. If not, you've been baited and you're gonna get comboed. And this would be his quarter circle back with an attack button, so there would be 3 different versions for this move, and I'll let you guys be creative in the comments and discuss what each one would do. When Sin Shenron absorbs the 5-star Dragon Ball, he gains the power of Rage Shenron, another power that he actually uses in Dragon Ball GT. He can summon a thundercloud and strike the opponent with lightning. I'm thinking this would be a vertical attack that tracks the opponent. It's sort of a projectile that hits them mainly in combos, though it can be good to keep them in check in neutral as well. But it cannot track too well, or it would be broken. So if the opponent is moving, this move should be a bad idea. The command for this, I'm thinking it should be something different, something like down special attack, which wouldn't be the first time we see it in Fighters. When Sin Shenron absorbs the 6-star Dragon Ball, he gains the power of Oceanos Shenron, the power of wind. Mighty Hurricane Fury would be done with quarter circle back and the special button while in the air, and this would be the move that gives Shenron an aerial launcher. Unless he absorbs the 6-star Dragon Ball, he won't be able to launch opponents in the air, but once he has it, he gains this new combo route, which could feel like the character changes in a way, and ultimately, that's exactly the point. With each ability, you feel your character changing, your character gaining new power, and this would mostly be a combo tool, since it would be very vertical and used in the air. Finally, when Sin Shenron absorbs the 7-star Dragon Ball, he gains the power of Naturon Shenron. When Naturon first shows up, he had absorbed a mole, so he can travel underground quite fast. This would be the move inherited by Sin Shenron, sort of like a super dash but underground, and it would be done with quarter circle forward and an attack button. So the different attack buttons could determine how far he travels underground. It wouldn't necessarily be a tracking ability like the super dash. In the show, Omega Shenron uses the power of the 7-star Dragon Ball to trigger gather a grounded explosion, but honestly, at this point, I don't think this dude needs more projectiles. And those would be all of his 7 special attacks, 1 for each of the Dragon Balls he absorbs. But what happens if you defeat Shenron? Well, if he's the last character, you just win the match, obviously. But if he's not, then he will lose all the Dragon Balls he has absorbed, just like he did against Gogeta, and they will return to normal. So you can now summon the normal Shenron if you want to. This is one heck of a gimmick. The chances of it actually happening are pretty low, but I thought, to hell with it. This sounds so fun that I needed to share my vision with the world. There's a really big opportunity to make something that is just brand new in fighting game history. So I just didn't want to play it safe with the Omega Shenron video. Now, with so many specials, I don't think it should have a lot of supers as well, so we're gonna keep it simple. And we're actually gonna leave out a lot of abilities here. Abilities that you might have seen in other games or might remember from the show. There just isn't enough space to fit it all in. First up, we have his level 1 super, which is a big explosion, potentially full screen. There's not much to it. It's a huge force push, it deals damage, and it lasts for a long time in the show. But in game, it would just be a regular level 1, and I think grounded only, since the explosion seems to come from the ground. And then his level 3 is his desperation move, the one he throws straight at Gogeta with the intent of destroying the whole planet. Negative Karma Ball is one of his most iconic moves, so it definitely has to be his level 3 super. And I would say if you successfully gather all 7 Dragon Balls, in addition to having all of those abilities, I think you should also get a bonus. And that bonus comes in the form of a level 5. So keep holding the button after the negative Karma Ball. It will blow up the enemy, and when the enemy falls from that explosion, they fall straight on your back and get impaled by spikes. And then you shock them with Dragon Thunder for that juicy extra damage. So here's the summary, here's everything that happened in this video. There was really a lot to it. I don't think I've spent this much time analyzing a character's moves as I did with Omega Shenron. And while these videos might be a lot of fun to make, you can imagine how long this actually took. And it's only thanks to the support of fans like you on Patreon that I can keep doing what I do here. So if throughout this video you felt entertained and you'd like me to make more videos, then consider becoming a patron. And if you do, join us on Discord, because I try to give back as much as I can to my patrons, which means you'll get a lot for your $5 a month as a thank you for your support. But let me know what you thought of this Omega Shenron gimmick. Did you like it? Not really? I want to hear your opinions in the comments down below. And as always, thank you very much for watching. My name is Globku, and I'll see you next time. Bye.